Welcome to Bums on a Boat. My name is Joel. We just finished sailing all over in this Privilege 585. Thankful to Carl and Michelle for inviting us along, and how cool has it been to learn from Captain Tony.
I think I'm blessed to have a good crew with me on this trip. Nobody's falling out big time, you know.
Now it's time to continue working on my boat, which is a 33-foot monohull, 1974. Wouldn't that just be something if it was a wiring job and I went down there and ripped the whole steering apart and just ripped this thing out of here. So we're going back to Jacques Mate. I want to do some sailing. Hey, you bums. There's one more project left, and that's the autopilot. And the autopilot is something I've really been fighting with since the beginning of owning this boat. I thought I had diagnosed the problem. I went and bought the part, which was, you know, a little expensive, and I installed it, hoping to surprise everybody. So, you know, I went over to the boat. I took Carl's dinghy all the way out and around. Bye, Els, I'll be back. Which is, you know, it's a little bit exposed from Prickly Bay to Secret Harbor. I unloaded all my stuff, my dive gear, onto Jacques, and I also had already went and bought the part, so I took the part with me and I installed it, and it worked. It definitely fixed the part that was messed up, but then it kind of well, it showed me that there's a much more expensive part that's not working properly. It's the rotary unit. It's basically the whole autopilot. Prickly Bay Marina, making the commute. It's gonna be about 1.5 miles walk, up hills, down hills. So I was so excited. I installed the arm. It's like a rudder sensor arm, and it just basically tells the unit where the rudder's at. I installed it, and then when I activated the autopilot, the motor was making some crazy noises that I've never heard. Beautiful hike. It's actually really cool, this commute, because it's like a forced hike in the morning, and I don't know, it's harder for me to get myself up and just go walking or hiking in the morning just randomly. But you know, now that I have to do it to get to the boat, I'm realizing this is a great way to start the day. Went ahead and got some water on the way to the Jacques Mate. Well, this was the part that I replaced, and this was only a couple $100. This was definitely not working properly. I just looked in the manual. I did a couple tests with the wires here and my multimeter, and those tests confirmed that this unit was fried. So I bought a new one. I installed this. Just for a second, I'm gonna turn on autopilot and I'm gonna activate it just so you can see what I saw. One way or the other, I want to sail Jacques Mate. Am I going to be doing it with no autopilot and bungees and maybe holding the wheel, trying to balance the sails? I hate to do this, but I want to show you guys what it's doing. Part of me is like, God, just don't keep doing it because you're going to mess something up. Here we go. Ready? Okay, so you can hear it. It doesn't sound good. It gets worse and worse the longer I keep it on. This is the unit, Type 1 Raytheon rotary drive. That baby's gonna be $2,200 to get a new one sent here. And it doesn't seem good, but I'm not gonna call it yet until we take it apart and do our test, investigate, and at least understand what the problem is. All right, I got the case up. We're gonna look at it without the case. So yeah, it's trying. Oh wow. Stop. Oh, interesting. This part in here is turning like it's doing something, but it's not able to turn the whole rudder. All right, still don't know what's going on. But I know the longer that you leave the autopilot on, the crazier it starts to sound like it's about to explode. got it off. Here it is. I had to loosen the cable here to get the chain off before I removed it, so that's where it was mounted. See the chain back there. Here where I reconnected the wires, it's a little suspect. Like you can see there's a, I don't know if you can see, but it doesn't look solid. So I'm gonna start here and investigating this connection. And what it seemed like was the clutch wasn't quite working right. It was just making a lot of noise. We'll come back, pick up where we left off, do some research, you know, get some lunch. Hold the fort down, Shocky. We're gonna get you sailing one way or another. With or without an autopilot. Oh boy, am I glad I have you guys. Otherwise, I'd just be talking to myself. You know? Good morning. We're on our way to Shock Bate to see if we can't figure out this rotary drive. Alright, so the first test that I'm going to do is connect the terminals to positive and negative here on my 12-volt batteries, and just want to see if the motor should turn and just continually turn, but if the clutch doesn't engage, this is the clutch here, if it doesn't engage then the motor should turn, but this will not turn until the clutch engages. Let's see what happens. To me, seems like the clutch just wasn't engaging. It could be because of our wire situation here, which was a little messy, and maybe the wiring just wasn't solid there, and the clutch wasn't able to engage when it wanted to, which when the clutch engages, you know, it does turn the rudder, and then it wouldn't just turn and turn and turn and turn. I noticed that this wasn't moving at all. So I have disconnected the clutch to the batteries, and it engages. It doesn't smoke, and it clicks, it engages, which is what it's supposed to do. But you know what's interesting is it was not engaging when it was connected, when I was trying to use the autopilot. I think that's what was happening, is the clutch wasn't engaging. So this whole thing could just be possibly just a bad wiring job. All right, let's see what happens. So all I'm doing is just, you know, I'm touching these two cables, the positive and negative here, and then we're just watching. We're watching this little guy right here to see if it positive. So I hear the click, it kind of, and that's the magnet that sticks to it. So golly, I don't know. Seems all right. It's just a bad wire. Is that possible? When I connect the terminals to the motor and I engage the clutch with my finger, it does what it engages, and when when this engages this magnet here, then this will turn very slowly. Negative. Okay, the clutch engages, it does its thing. It is a little noisy, like there might be a pulley or maybe there's something going on in there, but honestly, God, it sure seems like it's working. Wouldn't that just be something if it was a wiring job and I went down there and ripped the whole steering apart and just ripped this thing out of here? As I was peeling this back, I noticed there was some corrosion and the red wire just kind of ended down in here a little deeper. So the red wire, I don't think was connected at all. And I think maybe I didn't connect it properly. Basically, I don't remember, but I may not have isolated the two wires. So I have these metal butt connectors, and I think I may have put the metal butt connectors on each one and then sealed that up, but the metal butt connectors may have been touching each other, possibly, and that caused some sort of corrosion that over time. So I connected everything back up. I have my rudder centered and I hit auto, and I basically just want to see if it's going to turn the rudder now. So auto, look at that. All right, so I don't know how great that test was, but one thing I have noticed is that would spin the chain, and I don't know, that's different. That's different than what it was doing, which it was just making that noise, but it wasn't spinning the chain. So I don't know. I really don't know. But it's worth it to me to install the whole thing and just see what happens. Really did the best I could. I isolated the wires. You can see here, it's completely covered up. I connected the 2 wires in there, isolated them, sealed it up. I stripped back enough until I saw just solid wire connection, no corrosion. Breathing is key. Definitely need to breathe, and sometimes I gotta let out a little just kind of let it out, You let it out and breathe, and it's a lot less, few and far between. But man, getting this thing on, you see what I'm working with. I mean, if you've been in the locker, this little 33-foot boat, I mean, the locker is just, it's tight. Been on boats, I've seen a few things, and I know that you're gonna always be crammed into weird spaces trying to get screws that you're like, who put this here? Or what? How am I supposed to get this off? I mean, come on. I don't care if you're on a privileged 585. There's probably a space in there that you're gonna be trying to work on something and going, although it's a little bit less, and you do have a lot of space for most things, but I think like the wiring, there's gotta be something on that boat that's just like, what? Come on. How am I supposed to get my arm in there? And I'm supposed to put a wrench in there and come on. Some of these bolts and nuts just don't even seem like there's a possible way to tighten them, but I know now that there is a way. There's always a way. You just need the right tool, the right position and all that, and you can do it. You can do it, usually. Part of me does hate to leave you here, but the truth is, the other part of me loves to leave you hanging on a cliff a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't be doing my job if you weren't hanging a little bit on the cliff saying, But I have done a little research, and it appears it could be the FlexGate compass, or it could be a wiring problem, or it could be a calibration issue. All right, well, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And patrons, thank you so much. I love you guys. I appreciate you. We're here. We've made it this far. It seems like we've climbed a mountain, yet you look up and we're at base camp. That's what it feels like to me. Over these last 7 years, it's just been swinging for the fences and up and down, and we have made some progress, and there's been success. And hey, we bought this sailboat in St. Petersburg, Florida, and it's in Grenada, and that's pretty awesome. This is cool. We're in a good spot to start sailing and island hopping north through beautiful islands. But I would like to get this autopilot solid, especially if I'm going to be doing it solo, which I am fully prepared to do. I have some openings, and I will talk to some friends and fill out crew, but at the same time, my goal is to get this boat ready to go and to get it fully operational on my own if that's the way she's going to be. So stay tuned. See you next week.
These are the tales of Moab.
Boats on a boat. B-O-A-B, baby, where? B-O-A-B, baby, where? B-O-A-B,